In this edition of Generations, we talk to Mary Jo, Senior Centre Supervisor of the Groton Senior Centre, and Judy Jenks of SeniorCentreCT.org about bullying in a Generations special. We talk about what bullying actually is, examples of how adults bully other adults, and how to tackle it. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith, and welcome to Generations, a new podcast for people of your generation. Now, bullying isn't just something that happens in the school playground, and it can follow us through our adult lives. And according to an Arizona State University report, between 10 to 20% of residents in senior care homes are mistreated or bullied by their peers. And in a country of some 10,000 senior centres alone serving 1 million adults, it's a big problem. Joining me today on this bullying special is Mary Jo, Senior Centre Supervisor of the Groton Senior Centre, and Judy Jenks of SeniorCentreCT.org. Mary Jo and Judy, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
So let's start off with what actually is bullying.
Bullying can include negative gossip, negative joking at someone's expense, sarcasm, condescending eye contact, facial expression or gestures, mimicking to ridicule, deliberately causing embarrassment and insecurity, the invisible treatment, social exclusion, professional isolation, and deliberately sabotaging someone's well-being, happiness, and success. And the bullier is not interested in working things out. They're not interested in compromise. They're more interested in power and domination. They want to feel as though they are important and preferred, and they accomplish this by bringing others down.
Mary Jo, I mean, from a senior centre point of view, can you just add a little bit more into that for us?
One of the keys to bullying is that it's repeated. That if somebody does it once, they say something sarcastic to you, that's just, a one-time incident. But bullying is something that's going to go on continually, and it doesn't stop. And the person that's being bullied needs to be the one to address it.
I suppose as we grow older, we don't necessarily think about adult bullying, but, we're here talking about it. Are you both surprised, or maybe not, because you've both, Mary Jo, you are a current supervisor of a senior centre. Judy, that is something that you have done as part of your career. Does it still surprise you it happens?
No, it does not. People are people. I was in a nursery school setting before I became a senior center director, and you can see the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old, and if they're a happy child, they're a happy senior. If they are a bullier, they're always taking away the other kids' toys. They're pushing the other kids. Unless adults intervene, that child will be doing that when he's in high school. He will do that in the workplace, and he will do that as a senior. So pretty much, if you were a bullier as a kid, if you don't work at changing that behavior, you're going to be a bully your whole life.
And that's very true. We've seen it here where the person has been doing this for a long time, and you have to address it to them. But as Judy said before, they don't care. They're not really looking to change their behavior. So it ends up being the person being bullied that sometimes has to address their behavior and how they respond to the bully to get this to stop.
Judy, at the top of this, gave us some definitions of bullying, and some people might be listening to this and thinking, that's not bullying. Is it also a case of where these things constantly get, changed up, the definition? Is this something we can ever really tackle?
I think if we, again, try to address it at a young age, you have to start with kids, and it's really addressed in the school systems nowadays where kids can't keep picking on somebody. I think with kids, sometimes it's more physical. They're going to take their lunch money. They're going to push a kid around. Where when it is adults, it's more verbal, and they're going to put somebody down. Oh, what are you wearing that for? Oh, why is your hair like this? They make subtle comments. Oh, look at what you're eating today for lunch. Maybe you shouldn't be eating that. Your health, And at first you kind of take it as, oh, well, they're just making a comment. But again, if it's repeated and repeated and repeated, they really bring another person's feelings down. they're putting them down, and so you can see it that this person is feeling self-conscious now. They're feeling like they're doing something wrong, and it's really the bully that's making them feel that way. So we need to address it as senior center directors or senior center staff by being able to intervene and stopping the behavior. But again, it's got to be the person being bullied to bring it to our attention.
We'll get on to that in a little bit. I just want to raise this question with both of you. Does the bully necessarily always feel that they are being a bully?
Oh, no. A lot of times they don't even see that they are bullies until somebody points it out to them. You know, and I've been in situations and said to the person, how would you feel if that person said that to you every day when you came in? How would you feel if somebody did that eye roll or made that comment? And then they start to realize, oh, I didn't realize I was behaving like that. And I think a lot of it's education, because perhaps when they were growing up, the word bullying wasn't even used. They don't even know what bullying is. This is just the way I've always been, and I've been just fine. But now public awareness has raised the definition of bullying, and that's not appropriate behavior. So our grandchildren might be telling us, you know, and talking to us about bullying, and then we can learn from them, and then we can be kinder to other people.
I suppose also you have to watch out as well as talking about the grandchildren aspect. You know, if that older person is a bully, that can so easily be taken in by a young child as well. And then, you know, we're not breaking that cycle at all. It's just a continuing cycle.
Mm-hmm. But I think the school is working at breaking that cycle. So perhaps the grandchild sees the grandparent behaving that way, thinks that that's normal. That's the way I'm supposed to be. And then when they go to school and they act like that, then the teacher or the aide or whoever is, oh, you're not supposed to do that. That's not nice. You hurt their feelings. So hopefully it does break that cycle.
So let's talk about some examples of how adults bully other adults. Again, we sort of touched upon some of them. And Mary Jo, you said it's maybe not necessarily physical when it comes to the adult thing, but I suppose there is the chance that it could get physical.
I was giving Judy an example. I worked as a CNA in a nursing home when I was going to college. And we had one patient who actually would sit in her doorway with her wheelchair, and she would time it that she would roll out and the person walking down the hallway would run into her. And then she would yell at you, be careful, do this, do this. But she was bullying the staff and the other seniors that were at that center. And that was more towards a physical type. But typically it's verbal. We've definitely had somebody that will say, don't sit in that chair. Those are our seats. We have that table. And of course, as directors, Judy and I have both done it. Don't see your name on that table. Don't see your name on that seat. So this is open and available to anyone to try to break that cycle. We have a group that come and meet here, and the staff kind of jokingly called it the Mean Girls table. But what it was people were overhearing them talking about other seniors. And that gossip can be very mean and very bullying. When I addressed it with them, it really turned out they weren't being mean. They were talking about people, and it wasn't gossip, but there was more out of concern. And I said, well, why don't you talk to the staff about it so we can resolve that person's issue? Because people will notice, and that's what was happening, that somebody wasn't dressing as well. They weren't acting their normal. And usually that's a sign that something health-wise is going on. So just encouraging those women to then talk to us more about what they see. Now we're able to resolve some other issues which we would never have known about.
And back to the definition, it's negative gossip.
Right.
You know, and you can have a group of people being perceived as a clique or, you know, exclusive or whatever, but it's just that they're good friends. So did they ask you to sit with them when you went by and you didn't accept the offer? They're not being a bully. They're not a group of bullies. They were trying to include you, but you perceived something that wasn't really there.
Let me put this to both of you, because it's always a controversial topic. Political correctness. You know, is some of this just political correctness, or is there, you know, it sounds as if there is realness to this, but is some of this just political correctness, though, where people, you know, perceive something to actually be an issue and it really isn't at the end of the day?
I think sometimes we get a little dramatic just from watching TV and listening to other people and going on the internet, and it's always drama about something. But I think that there is actual bullying that goes on. I've dealt with a couple of situations here, and it really was somebody that just was pure bully, had always been allowed to bully. And in the long run, it was, do you want to continue to participate here? Then your actions and what you do here has to change. And if you're not willing to change and abide by the rules, then we can't have you here. And it really was verbal abuse of other seniors.
And I also think that the bullying is far and few between when you look at the number of people that attend a facility. It is not a large number. It's a very small number, probably smaller than a handful. But those people who are being nasty and bullying, they can sour your whole facility if you don't stop it. Because people become very timid, they draw back, they don't want to interact with that. And so, is it a political correctness? I think it's awareness more than political correctness. And those few people need to be dealt with.
Picking up on your comment as well, Judy, when you say that it sours the facility, of course, for some people, this facility could be their very lifeblood as well, because if they've lost somebody, if they don't have anybody. So, to then suddenly have what was considered, I suppose, to them a safe area suddenly become, not a safe haven anymore. That's a big issue as well.
And that's when they need to take it to the director, take it to the management. Make sure the staff is aware that when you're not around, this is what that person is doing. And if you could help us, then we can continue to come here. Because it is a safe haven.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, tackling this, because, we want to be able to give people some tools, some advice as well, if they feel, some people, if they feel they're being bullied, can sort that out themselves and they will deal with it. But many people are not able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about, some of the ways that, that can be tackled.
One of the biggest things they say is don't engage. Don't engage the bully. Don't just walk away. And if they follow you, then walk to a supervisor, walk to somebody of authority so that they can help you and deal with the person. But it's really not giving the bully the response they want.
One of the things that I did, I happened to be in my position before we had a senior center, and when we were going to renovate a building and have a senior center, I went and visited a lot of facilities to see, what did they really like about their senior center, what did they not like about it. And I did not like, that's Mary's chair and you can't sit there. And all these reserved seats, it's not very welcoming. So when I looked at how can I stop that from happening, because I do perceive that as being part of bullying, not real strong bullying, but it is. You're not being inviting. Is I got round tables and rectangle tables, and I would move them so that you did not have your same seat. And we are creatures of habit. We are going to go to that same table, sit in that same chair. But if I walk in today and, whoa, they moved all the furniture in here, I need a new place to sit, you stop that and it's more inviting. And I think you can do those kinds of things so that people are more understanding of it's not mine, it's ours.
And what about the gender relationship as well? Men can sometimes be seen and often are much more aggressive in behavior than women. How do you tackle a situation if it's a guy in particular who's really being the instigator of the bullying against maybe not necessarily other men but ladies?
I had a gentleman who was behaving in a rotten way to his own wife, and one day it was just one day too many, and I sent him home. I just said, go home. And he stayed away for about 2 weeks, and then he wrote me a letter. He apologized and said he would not behave like that again. And then he came back, and things were much better.
I think, she's right, is you just have to tackle it as supervisors or senior center employees. I just go right up to them and say, this is not okay. And do you want to continue coming here or not? There is a choice. And that we are public buildings, but that doesn't mean that everybody has the right to be here, that if you can't act appropriately, and we have a code of conduct which addresses how you treat other people, and respect is one of the highest priority things on that code of conduct, is you have to treat everybody with respect.
And one of my most shocking bullying situations was 2 women. The women were the bullies, and they just didn't care who they attacked. And so then that needed to be addressed as well. So it's not just men, it's not just women, it's the individual.
So let's just talk about the state of sort of like the world we live in today. People do seem to be more open to dealing with issues. We see it in the news. Do you think people are more open now than maybe they were in the past to sort of like acknowledging the bullying if they're being bullied themselves and, wanting it resolved? Or has that really not changed and people will still sort of shy away from it, and it's a case of there has to just be a lot of perception, maybe sometimes from the senior centre staff, to keep an eye on what's going on?
I think you need to keep an eye on what's going on every day in your facility. You need to get out of your office and get out there and see, who's getting along, who's not getting along, who maybe is having a difficult time adjusting, and help them out a little bit to adjust.
I think getting out there and talking to the seniors, especially ones that seem to be quiet or reserved, and is that their reason for that, or is it just they're new and they don't really know as many people, they don't know what's going on, and they just need a comforting friend to come over and chat with them and get them to be more outgoing. But other times you'll find that, it's like, nope, had a bad experience in this class. And then you find out that, they were bullied.
Let me put this to both of you then. I mean, what I'm hearing from this is people can be assured that if they're coming to a senior centre, if they feel they've got a problem, there's people there to talk to, and the staff will help them out. That's what I'm hearing, and clearly I'm guessing that's an important takeaway message for anybody who's listening to this.
Definitely.
Yes. And by the staff getting out there and talking to the seniors, you build a little bit of a relationship, and then the senior is comfortable coming to you with any problem that they might have, whether it's bullying or transportation or I don't understand what's going on here.
Any final thoughts?
I think if seniors learn to handle the other bully, that they'll find that they're more resilient. They actually come out of their shell a little bit more once they've realized they've handled the situation as an adult, which they might not have done when they were kids. So it's a real positive thing for the person that's being bullied if we can get that resolved for them, that they really do have more resiliency.
And sometimes it's a positive experience for the bullier, too, because they might not be aware that their behavior is bullying.
It's true.
So once it's brought to their attention, sometimes they can, I didn't realize, and then behave in a better manner.
Mary Jo and Judy Jenks, thanks ever so much again for joining me. Absolutely fascinating, and obviously a very important discussion to have, because like I said, it's just not something that is necessarily thought about on a day-to-day basis as obviously we continue to age, but clearly it is something that we need to be mindful of. So thank you again for joining me on Generations, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you feel you might be the victim of bullying, or someone you know is being bullied, then speak to the person in charge of that facility, and whatever you do, don't suffer in silence. That's all from this edition of Generations. Don't forget to visit seniorcenterct.org to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. And if you want to send us a topic to talk about or want to be our guest on the podcast, drop us a line by visiting the seniorcenterct.org website. Go to the bottom of the homepage and click the How to Advertise with Us link to get in touch. From myself, Brian Scott Smith, thanks as always for listening. We'll catch you next time.